Okay, I'm just going to spend a few minutes talking to you about program validation. So you've just heard about the QA guidelines. So as Karina said, they're new, they're up for consultation. They're there until February the 5th. Please engage, give your feedback. This is the moment, or until February the 5th. Please share the information with your colleagues and indeed encourage other stakeholders to provide feedback as well. The more feedback we can get, obviously, the more we can reflect the concerns, needs, etc., of the sector, if need be, i.e. if certain things are not encapsulated already. To follow on from QA guidelines, and just to reiterate, establishing your QA procedures is not an end in itself. It is opening the door to two routes. One route is to the international education mark, once that is introduced. Let's say 217. The other route is it opens the door to program validation. And so you have that common QA approval agreed, and then you may choose one of those routes to follow. You may choose to follow both of them. But either of them put you on a statutory footing with QQI. So just to make that clear. Just some quick information on program validation. If you look at the slide here, program validation is available to all providers who have established their QA. So they've agreed it and they're ready to submit a program for validation. There's a model which is followed in this, so self-assessment, external assessment, the report is published, and there may be follow-up as needed, as required, in order to ensure that the program is as good as it can be. And all providers who don't have delegated authority, which is going to be certainly all the ELT providers and all private providers, to make awards must have their programs validated by QQI. There are a list of sort of key considerations here. I don't think any of these, and I apologize, I think they're a little bit small. You might not be able to see them. The PowerPoints are going to be up on the website along with the video of this session. However, just to pick up on some of them, which I don't think there's any surprises here for you as very experienced developers of your programs. You're very familiar with QA processes. So if you just take the first one, the program objectives and learning outcomes are clear and consistent with the award sought. Very familiar to you. You will have been doing this through your ACEL's documented curriculum framework processes for some time. So that's certainly nothing new. There are sound and valid assessment strategies, and again, that, if I may say so, relates to the assessment framework type of concept that you've been working with the documented framework for some years as well. If you see the last bullet there, it says the provider complies with the standards of the Code of Practice. So that means any provider that is putting in for program validation or for a program in which there will be international students needs to be able to demonstrate that the standards of the Code of Practice are met in relation to that program. Okay? There are a number of other things. The learning environment is consistent with the needs of the program's learners. There are sufficient physical resources to implement the program as planned. There are well-qualified and competent teaching staff available to implement the program as planned. None of that is going to be surprising to you, I would suggest. But it is important to note it nonetheless. This is where it's sitting in terms of program validation. The validation process, if you're looking to validate a program, as I said, for the programs that we have standards up for now in terms of the ELT domain, we're looking for them at the middle of the year for program validation to open for those programs. You submit your documentation, and all of that is in the policy for initial access and would be explained, as Karina said, in great detail in the obligatory briefing. There's a check that they're complete. An external panel of experts, obviously in the ELT domain for this purpose, is appointed by QQI, selected from the register I talked about, mentioned to you before. And the decision of the QQI Governance Committee is based on that panel's recommendation. If by any chance the program is refused, there is a formal process of appeal, and programs go through a process of programmatic review to revalidate them every 5 years. Okay? So this isn't, of course, the only route open to ELT providers. You may decide that you'd like to validate a couple of programs. You may decide you're not going down the program validation route at all. You'll wait for the IM. But it is an alternative route that is now opening to you, and maybe is providing you with new ideas and thoughts and stimulation on new sort of programs and offerings that you might put out into your international markets. Okay, thank you.